I'm very excited to be talking about today's topic. As you see on the screen is revamping your marketing playbook for 2022. Strategy is to ensure a fully booked calendar. Some of the key areas in which we're going to focus on in today's webinar is going to be, one, what are we seeing on the data and analytics side of reservation trends and reservation volumes? We'll then kind of move to how do we actually take advantage of these trends and volumes and bring that attention to our direct booking websites, where we know that we can save on commission fees and service fees from the OTAs. And then lastly, we'll kind of sync up with a property management company out of Mexico City that's doing tremendous things and kind of collaborating with local artists while still driving more and more attention to their Instagram and their social media campaigns to then lead to huge increases in direct bookings. And so we'll go through that journey together with our panel. And then at the end, we'll start asking some panel questions. And so a lot to cover today, so let's get to it. A little bit about me. My name is Paul Zukauskas. I'm the VP of Customer Success at Guesty. I've been in this role for about 2.5 years now, and I've had the pleasure of meeting with a ton of property management companies from across the globe. And I'm very excited for all the creative ways in which people are actually driving towards direct bookings. And so really excited for today's conversation. Our panel, we're joined by Melanie from Key Data. We've got Ali from Beyond, and then Anna is joining us from Casai. And we'll hear from them in just a second. So again, just a little bit about the agenda. We'll hear a little bit from me. We'll hear from each one of our panelists. And then lastly, we'll really dive into like a 15, 20-minute discussion with our panel. All right, so getting into some of the information that we saw over this recent holiday season, we had a very impressive increase over New Year's Day and New Year's Eve bookings, a roughly 32% increase in the United States over what we saw in 2020. And in Great Britain or in the UK, we saw a 121% increase. Obviously, this is tied to some of the lockdowns that we saw in the UK leading up to the holiday season last year, but still tremendous volume and increase in demand over the holiday season. Accompanying that, we saw that Christmas was the most expensive holiday in 2021, specifically in the United States, better than what we saw over the July 4th holiday when there wasn't necessarily this COVID crisis or COVID concern. Omicron didn't seem to actually stymie the large kind of booking numbers and the large ADRs that we were seeing in the Christmas season. And so in the United States, we saw a 53% increase in pricing, so roughly almost, 53% gains in ADR. And then the UK was almost double as far as what they were charging in the holiday season of 2021 versus what they were charging in 2020. The same is true for New Year's Eve specifically. We saw a 26% increase in price in the US and 130% in the UK. So I know that today's discussion, we're really going to be talking about how do we fill up our calendar? How do we drive bookings? And I think that there's a lot of best practices out there for driving reservations through the OTAs. But one of the sub areas that we want to focus on in today's kind of webinar is how do we drive bookings to our direct booking sites? And one of the key ways that we can do that is through kind of these social media outlets that we have. The first one that I want to talk through is TikTok. What we've realized is that less than 10% of PMCs actually promote themselves via TikTok. But I think that there's a lack of awareness maybe and a lack of understanding of what is the TikTok market. A lot of people assume that it's mostly just Gen Z, but we have seen that out of the billion users on TikTok, that 39% of them are millennials. And when you take the Gen Z and the millennial buyer and their buying power and put it together, that represents roughly $350 billion in spending. And so this is a very, very meaningful chunk of capital that we could address, if we are leveraging these social media platforms. What we've also learned is that specifically Gen Z and millennials are 65% of them are influenced on their purchasing decisions from digital platforms. So they go to TikTok, they go to Instagram, maybe go to Facebook. I don't think they go to Facebook very much, but that's where they're being influenced in their actual buying decisions. And so what we really need to do is learn how to leverage these platforms for driving traffic to our direct booking websites. Also, one of the more less expensive areas where you can really make an impact on your direct bookings is through newsletters and email marketing. Those have traditionally super high ROIs for very little kind of lift of what you'd have to do to leverage your own kind of email and guest customer lists. So why would we want to drive bookings through our direct booking websites? There's the obvious, right? Which is we're not paying large commissions and service fees to the OTAs. And so you're also able to kind of control your entire message and narrative there. You're able to actually launch blog materials on your direct booking website, which will increase your SEO. And I know that's something that Beyond is going to talk to us about. And then additionally, because you're saving because you're saving on those service fees and on those commission fees, you could offer certain discounts and loyalty programs on your direct booking websites to try to drive repeat traffic to your direct booking website. And so we'll dive into all of this a little bit more in detail through our presentations and in our panel. All right, so that's enough from me. Let's go ahead and let's start introducing our panel and start hearing what they have to share. Melanie, you're up first.
So I am Melanie Brown, the Director of Data and Analytics at Key Data Dashboard. So my team tracks a lot of trends, what's happening in markets around the country. Our main data source is through connections with property management systems like Guesty. We have a direct integration with them. We pull data once every day. We're able to see historical, forward-looking, also things like owner stays, maintenance holds, and those non-revenue generating nights. We also do scrape the OTAs, but I'll be presenting data from our direct integrations today. Just it's a little richer data set. So vacation rental guest trends, what can you expect this year in 2022? Most of the data I'll be presenting is what has booked in recent years. We're looking at actual conversion and just some data around things like lengths and booking windows and what types of units people are looking for. So first off, we're looking at booking windows. So most reservations are still made within 30 days of arrival. That hasn't changed. This is data globally. A lot of it is weighted towards the United States, where we have most of our, not most, but a lot of customers. So we have it broken down by quarter and by year. That salmon colored line is all reservations, the percentage of reservations made within 30 days. The orange line is the percentage made within 90 or more days. Blue is 30 to 60 days, and then green is 61 to 90 days. And so obviously, way up at the top, we have those reservations that are made within 30 days of arrival. 2019 and 2021 were pretty similar. We did see the biggest changes in 2020, especially in Q2, where people were planning more trips at the last minute. And so the percentage of last minute bookings went up, and then all of the longer term reservations went down. So again, this is our kind of first sign that things are returning to normal in terms of booking windows. Within 30-day booking window, we have this super last minute people booking within 2 weeks of 14 days of arrival. That really saw the biggest spike in 2020. So Q2 example went from about 35% in 2019 to 45% of reservations made within the last 2 weeks, and then back down a little bit below that in 2021. So these are still, a large percentage of all reservations, so about 40-ish%, but we are again seeing things. People are planning their vacations at kind of their normal cadence ahead of arrival again. Like everything else, that's really varied by region. So many of the travel restrictions have been very regional. And so we're looking at Canada in orange, Italy in red, Mexico in blue, Spain in green, the US in that dark gray color. And so for in all of these countries, we really saw booking windows much lower in 2021 compared to 2019. So if they were on the zero axis, that means that they're booking at the same pace they were, or at the same speed they were 2 years ago. And so in most countries and overall, we saw The beginning of 2021, people were still booking a lot closer to their arrival days. By the end of the year, again, it was getting back to normal. So people booking about the same way they were in 2019. Obviously, big impacts for how you're marketing your rentals when you're kind of starting to say, hey, come visit for Christmas or other big holidays. So make sure you've adjusted your marketing campaigns accordingly. So just like booking windows have returned to normal, as have stay lengths. So again, this blue line is stay length for fewer days, so those longer weekend trips. Saw a decrease from 2019 to 2020, but are back up to where they were in 2021. These longer stays, so 5 to 8 days, about a week, saw a little variation, but again, are back to normal. Again, the same as the 9 or more stay lengths. Obviously, a lot of these weekend stays were to urban destinations. And so I think especially in the US, as urban travel has recovered, so have those shorter stay lengths overall. Another narrative we've continued to hear is, oh, people are working from their Airbnb or their rental, and they're coming and staying for 2 months. While there's definitely some of that, it's not the norm. It's still below 5% of all of the reservations we're seeing. But that has increased a little bit since 2019. So certainly more people are coming for these long-term stays, but still not the norm. That being said, those stay lengths have remained longer in most destinations that we're monitoring. So they were much longer during the early parts of the year, especially in the US as summer travel peaked. They got back to normal, maybe about a day longer, and then are also longer during the off season. So I think that's going to be the main trend that we continue to see for stay lengths is, peak seasons will be about the same and maybe a little bit longer during the off seasons. Again, all of this is showing that it does vary a lot by destination. Just as stay lengths and booking windows have varied, so has this relationship between types of units that people want to stay in. Certainly early 2020, a condo or an apartment didn't seem like as safe as a house, just due to shared space and shared corridors. Houses are continuing to see more reservations coming in. So here we're looking at the percent change in guest bookings per active unit from 2021 to 2019. So houses in the orange line stayed a lot higher all of last year, kind of evened out again during the summer and picked up during the fall. Condos and apartments are booking well, but not quite as hot, much higher as houses are. So they've rebounded, which is great to see. And obviously, it's not just type of property, it's the property size as well, which can really indicate whether you have just a couple or one family or extended families traveling together. In 2019 and 2020, we did see some differences across bedroom counts for properties. And so especially in 2019, those smaller properties tended to book a little bit better. Their occupancy rates were higher. Last year in 2021, all of these bedroom sizes had about the same occupancy rate. So we have bedrooms up here. We're looking at the adjusted paid occupancy rates, the guest nights out of nights available in 3 different years. And so you can see that all of these bedroom counts ended up about 55-ish% booked last year. And so again, it may not be as huge of a differentiator as we saw in prior years. So key takeaways and things to consider. So again, booking windows, that the average time between a person making a reservation and arrival. Globally, about 50% of reservations are made within 30 days of arrival. So people are not planning super far in advance. The percentage of reservations made within 15 or 14 days of arrival is slightly smaller than in 2019, but still, a significant chunk of your reservations. And then overall, in most markets, the booking window is returning to normal, which would have been 2019 in most markets. So stay lengths, weekend trips of 4 or fewer days have recovered. Those long reservations of 2 weeks or more, not common and likely not where most of your reservations will come from. Then overall stay lengths are back to normal or slightly longer. Unit preferences, houses are still receiving more reservations, but continue pushing those condos and apartments. And then 2021 occupancy rates were even across all unit sizes in the US. So obviously things have changed a lot and will continue to change, but we are seeing a kind of return to normal booking behavior. Our goal is always better data together. The more partners we have, the richer our data set becomes. So we are offering to everybody on this webinar a complimentary year of custom comp sets, which is a tool that allows you to pick units to track on the OTAs, and we'll show you what they're doing with prices and reservations over time. You can reach out to sales at Key Data Dashboard and just reference this Guesty webinar. So thank you very much.
That was great. Thank you very much, Melanie. I think that if I picked up any one trend in your presentation, it's that rebound that we're here, right? Like if you were waiting for us to normalize into 2019, that what key data is seeing is actually a full rebound to kind of normal rates with actually slightly longer reservation lengths, right? So
yeah, no, that's a perfect summation of it. And then we talk about like occupancy and rates, and it's exceeded what we used to see in a lot of markets, but definitely booking behavior and types of things people are looking for is back to what we would consider normal.
Yeah, that's really great. Also, I know that you talked about kind of those digital nomads working on long-term, like 30+ day reservations, not really making up a lot of the market at this point. That's really interesting because we've been hearing that narrative over and over again from, late 2020 into 2021. And it's interesting to see that it still just makes up just a small fraction of the actual reservations.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Very cool. All right. So thank you very much for that, Melanie. I think up next from Beyond is Ali.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ali from Beyond. First, thanks to Guesty for having me. If you don't know Beyond, we're a revenue management platform for short-term rental managers and owners to get, grow, and keep revenue. And today we're talking about one of the ways you can do that. So a bit of background about me. Before joining Beyond, I used to manage more than 100 units in Miami, and I know how important it is to have access to the right tools. Like some others have mentioned before, the short-term rental industry has grown very fast, and so has the noise around marketing and growing your company. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. If you're like most property managers I talk to every day, with infinite amount of work and a limited amount of time, I suggest you focus your efforts on the most important part of any marketing strategy. To know what that is, we need to answer a few questions. Where do your ads, direct mail, email campaigns, and business cards lead you? Where do prospective owners go to learn about your business? Where do guests go to directly book your properties? The answer to all of this is your website. It's your most important marketing asset. It's your brand. It's your business dev tool. It's the first thing people see when they search for you online. And so we can say it's the most important area of marketing you can invest in. And we have the data to prove that. So we, over the past few months, we polled 75 property managers in the US and Europe with at least 16 listings. And what we learned is that they have three priorities. They want more bookings coming from their website. They want to improve owner retention and acquisition, and they want to grow brand awareness. And so the best way to solve for all three is to have a great website. So even if you just started and only have a few listings, your goal is probably to manage more units and acquire more owners. And the website helps you build your brand, even if you're not getting a lot of direct booking yet. That said, not all websites are the same, and building your marketing foundation requires some thought, whatever the size of your company. A website is an opportunity to have a great return on investment. And before you make any investment on a website, here are some of the things you should keep in mind. So we touched on some of these before, but I want to go into a little details on each. So you have a few must-haves for a website. SEO, flexible booking options, and a great content management system. The first one is SEO. So it's not just a buzzword, it's a real concept and it pays off. This is how search engines know what you do, where you do it, and how they find you. If your website is not built with SEO as a priority, you should absolutely change that. This is how people find you, and if they can't find you, they find your competition. So SEO has to do with a few things, and one of the things we do with Signal is that we have a clean URL structure. All the pages on the website are optimized for SEO and includes keywords in your market. We also have H1s, H2s, all the out-of-the-box SEO package that you get with the Signal. So it's a lot from the start. The second one is flexible booking options. So the short-term rental industry went through a lot of changes over the past 2 years, and the way guests book has changed. And your website should reflect that. With Signal, you can search for listings and have flexible dates, which means you'll have a few options for a few days before and a few days after with different rates. So flexible bookings allow you to have more bookings, give more flexibility to your guests, and as a result, drive more revenue from your website. And the last must-have I'll talk about is a great content management system. It's extremely important, and it's a pain point that we've been hearing a lot. Short-term rental managers say their system is out of date. It's hard to make changes on their website. When they ask for a change, don't get a reply, or it's super expensive to make, and they feel trapped. So you should be able to make changes on your website anytime you want. Give yourself the tools to do that and manage your website as you see fit. With Signal, we give you access to your account on WordPress. You can log in, make the changes you want, and it's super easy. You can also ask our team to make the changes, and we don't charge anything for that. So yeah, you need to make sure that you can manage your website and update it. Also make sure that the tools that you need will stay updated. So a tool like WordPress. Of course, we have other features as well, like filtering by specific amenities, having a well-designed website, being mobile friendly, and a lot of other things. But we feel these are the three must-haves. So yeah, thanks for your time. Beyond has deep, seamless integrations with the Guesty. So if you'd like to learn more about Beyond, direct booking or dynamic pricing, we're happy to chat. And we have an exclusive offer as well. We offer a free website audit. So if you want to get that, reach out to us at support@beyondpricing.com, and we'll get that going. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Ollie. It's a great reminder that your direct booking website is almost like your storefront, right? And it's all about the SEO, getting as many eyeballs or people walking by your storefront as possible. And then once they're there, it's that content management piece, right? It's making sure that they're seeing, flexible options and things that are kind of meeting their expectations. And then that there's value in blogging or whatever else you've got going on your direct booking site that keeps them coming back for more. And so, and that option that you laid out at the end there for the website audit, why not take Beyond up on having them look at your website? They look at thousands of these, and why not have them provide some best practices there if it's if it's available to you? So
exactly, it's risk-free. There's a commitment, so yeah, happy to do that. And as you said, I see that in two steps. We need to get people to the website, so SEO helps with that. And then when they're on the website, we need a good design, great features, and that's what we offer with Signal.
Yeah. That's really great. All right. So thank you for that very much, Ali. And now on to Anna.
Thank you, Paul. And thank you, Guesty, for having me and for having Casai in this conversation. I just want to start it by telling and by explaining a little bit about what's Casai and specifically its business model. Mainly the hospitality industry has been shaped in three waves. It's like three different waves. The one of traveling with luxury, but maybe a little bit unaffordable. The second one is the travel with comfort and that it's very convenient and reliable, but maybe it's lacking a little bit of personalization. And the travel with locality that it's so in right now, right? But it could be a little bit inconsistent. I want to mention that these are not bad options. They are very good options, but there was something that was missing. And that's where Casai enters, right? So Casai is, we tell it's Casai, it's Hospitality 4.0 will be the offer based on three pillars so that the guests don't have to choose between the value propositions that they want to, right? So from one side, you have the curated locality. The people look for unique experience when they travel. From the other side, they have the comfortable living that they can live, work, and connect in the same place. And on the third one is the seamless reliability, right? We need to offer a flawless execution in order to have a good guest experience. That's of course our main objective. I just wanna explain a little bit more about the business. That we deliver the excellence across the board. We have we start with real estate. We curate the apartments in AAA neighborhoods. Then we enter to them, we design them, and we furnish with award-winning decoration. Then we operate everything with our proper tech stack. And we, of course, we are completely in charge of the guest experience. This, of course, powered by technology and driven by data. So having said that, I want to talk a little bit about what's the story behind Casai's brand and the marketing strategies we used to communicate this brand, this unique brand, in different platforms. So for starters, I want to say that the first step we have is to understand our guests, okay? So talking about these lifestyle travelers, they're like, these are a huge ecosystem. We needed to understand these lifestyle travelers. So we have this dynamic executive that is the one that travels for domestic business or for leisure travel, this leisure that it's something that is happening right now more than any time. They travel solo, they stay for 1 to 5 nights. They are very high to recurrence, right? From the second one is the restless jet setter. This is international and it's leisure. It's a little bit more nights, and they don't travel solo. They travel in a couple and in a group with the highest rates. And then it's the world traveler, that is the international or domestic traveler, but they're staying more than 14 nights, and they like to work from anywhere. And talking about this concept that we have been talking a lot about working from anywhere, I want to have a deep dive on the paradigm that has been accelerated by COVID, right? People have been changing the way they travel, they live, they work. So this lifestyle traveler that we have before COVID has been growing and growing, and the line between the work and the travel has been blurred, right? So this lifestyle traveler is growing and growing, and we have a very important data that says that 31% of the workforce will be working from anywhere. So that's something that Casai, of course, has in mind, and it's part of our proposition, and we want to offer a solution for this traveler. So understanding this traveler, after that, we want to build a brand that resonates with them specifically, and we need to keep the focus. I think that it's very important to have a focus on in the marketing strategies, because if not, you're all over the place and you're offering all over the solutions, and maybe you're not getting differentiated as you need to, right? So we wanted to build this unique brand. So I want to give a little an example that it's very important for us, where we focused on this pillar that I was talking about, that is the locality angle, to execute a 360 marketing campaign that, of course, give results, increasing awareness and bookings at the same time. So this locality, these unique experiences that these guests are looking for, we translated into an actual campaign. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about this campaign that it's called Casai Inspired by Mexico. So Casai, it's in Mexico, is based in Mexico. We have the locations in Mexico City, for example. And in Mexico City, for example, it's a curated locality, right? We believe in the authenticity at the moment of discovering a new place when traveling. Inspired by is the platform that allows us to communicate all of our efforts, from collaborations with local designers for our apartments to the creation of moments that allow us to share the Mexican talent. So I think that this strong concept could be translated into a 360 campaign that it was executed in all of our platforms. So this is the unique collaboration with Casai. What did we do? What we did is we created a unique collaboration with an artist that is called Ricardo Luevanos, that he made and helped us making some illustrations in representation of a Mexican culture. I know that I hope that everyone knows about the alebrijes that are iconic in Mexico. So we created this bonding between these icons that are very relevant in Mexico and our specific product. So you can see here a photo of one of our apartments, and you can see how we merged this into this actual collaboration with this incredible and famous artist. So talking about that, for example, you can see here how we did this collaboration with the animals that are very relevant in the Mexican culture, such as the Xoloscuincle, the Mazatl, and we created this huge and this amazing kind of an experience with them, creating a differentiated experience that could separate us from the competitors. No one could be offering this kind of experience in the unit, right? So when the guests arrive, for example, they will be receiving, they received an artisanal librije and a postcard welcoming the guests to our units, right? This kind of experience that generate this 360 impact. This was a seasonal campaign. This was translated into different channels and into different materials. You can see here, there were these are videos. We created different kind of videos and different kind of materials, as I mentioned. And we, of course, leverage to use a specific code, a code to redeem in our own website, right? So here you can see we were tackling the US and Mexico leisure travelers with a discount specifically in our stays in Ciudad de Mexico, Tulum, and Playa del Carmen, with two main objectives: conversion and consideration and conversion. Consideration, we got more than 45% on clicks versus last seasonal campaign. And in the conversion one, we got more than 40% of more codes redeemed per day, and more than 46% in the optimization of the US dollars per day on all the paid campaign. So I think that there are very, very interesting numbers to share with you. I want to share that these kind of marketing efforts help increase our Casai channels recurrence, that it's one of our main objectives as marketing, and of course increase the overall recurrence on Casai as a business, right? So having that kind of a brand and that kind of differentiator, I think that the third step that we should be focusing is in creating a strategy that complements these brand efforts, right? So I think that we are very aligned on what Melanie and Ali mentioned about having everything concentrated in one channel, that is the Casai.com, our own website that could be attending all the different needs of our potential guests. So all the traffic was brought to Casai.com, and when we have all that traffic, all that leads, we could be having this tailor-made attention, where we can be having the corporate solution, the consumer solution, the extended stay solution. We could be tackling, of course, also the supply side with the landlords, one-on-one sales. So I think that that's very important for us to be following up, to attend all the needs. And of course, having this flexibility that Ali mentioned as well. We need to be flexible because everyone needs different kind of attention, and they are looking for flexible deals right now, and now more than ever. And talking, of course, first of all, to the travelers, that this is our customer first philosophy, right? And I think that, of course, to be customer first, we need to have this tech stack and everything very, very well built from our side and from the back. So we, as Casai, deliver a tech-enabled guest journey with a human touch since they search for the stay and after they depart of the experience. So I'm not gonna be deeping dive on this, but since they search and book where to stay, when they plan to personalize, we have a concierge. When they arrive, we have the smart lock and we have an apartment guide for them. And they can connect to the best Wi-Fi, and we can make sure that they have this experience on the tech side, the best one, and they can explore and they can depart as well. Like, this is a 360 experience for us. Of course, that it's important to say that, as I mentioned, that our tech stack built by us, it's the one that help us concentrate everything from the start with the real estate, and then of course having everything on our own pricing tool, and having this guest app to generate the demand, of course, also everything concentrated as as a Casai platform that would give us all the insights to take decisions and to move forward and to understand the category, the business, and our users all the time. So I think that would be all. Thank you very much.
That was really great. Thank you very much, Anna, for that. I think, I took some notes off of your presentation, and every other word that I wrote down was brand, 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 right? And I think that really comes through in all of your efforts to drive traffic to your direct booking website, is that you are creating this brand. And I just think it's so smart that you took a look at your guest personas and you actually defined your guest personas. And it seems like every single one of those personas, when they navigate to your direct booking site, that your brand speaks to them in a certain way, and that they'll naturally gravitate towards their persona and the type of reservations and the type of inventory that you guys carry there.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, in those numbers that you shared, that the 46% optimization over your previous campaigns, by taking that extra step to be a little bit more visually appealing, that when people are actually swiping through their Instagram accounts or going through their TikTok, and it's almost like when you see that pretty flamingo with the butterfly wings, that you just stop and you're like, what is this? And then you start digging into it. And I think that's what really led to a lot of your conversions. So just huge congratulations to the entire Casai team for that.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much.
Now it's time for us to get to our panel discussion. I see a lot of questions in the Q&A that are around a certain topic of, is 2022 going to be a year in which we finally see this huge bump in direct bookings, right? Because it seems like this has been a focus for the property management companies out there for several years now, and that they've been tracking and investing a lot of time, energy, and money into their either their own personal sites or sites that they're building through Guesty or through Beyond. And so what people are really looking for is, what are the trends that you guys are seeing as kind of experts in the space? And so, Melanie, it's been a while since we heard from you. And so I'm curious, is key data actually tracking the volume of direct bookings? And what are you guys seeing on your end?
Yeah, so I brought some data to the conversation, which is my favorite thing to do. So yes, we do track booking source for all the reservations, or at least most of the reservations that are property managers. So in the US, OTA bookings have grown every year for the past couple of years. So they were about 36% of all guest reservations in 2019, 6% increase to 42% in 2020, and 50% in 2021. So I did look at reservations made for 2022 so far. It does seem like that status is or that pattern is continuing. In Europe, even more guest bookings come in from the OTAs. I mean, I think obviously as an industry, we're changing a lot of our approach to direct versus OTA bookings.
Yeah.
So I'm somewhat optimistic that will pay off, but I think especially in 2021, the rise of the OTA, they just rose so much as a percentage of reservations. And so I think it will be really challenging to turn that tide around.
And thank you for sharing that data. Obviously we want to say yeah, the direct bookings are coming, but if you're seeing something that's, counter to that, it's even more imperative that we're practicing kind of best practices on our direct booking sites, so that we can overcome kind of this rising tide of the OTAs. And it makes a lot of sense that people are going to the OTAs. Sorry.
I was just gonna add, I think a lot of, new to vacation rental people are coming in from the OTAs. So I do also think it's this balance between exposure and then control over your reservations that you get through direct bookings.
Yeah. So Anna, I want to go to you. Do you have a sense of what percentage of your overall reservations come from OTAs versus what's coming in directly through your site? And do you see yourself outperforming kind of, the numbers that Melanie was just talking about?
Specifically, that's our main priority, to increase this percentage from the OTAs to Casai.com. That's mainly one of our top priorities as marketing. So this has been growing as we we keep building the brand that I was mentioning. So this was in a 40% in Casai.com, and we're looking to go over there. And of course, our main priority would be to have the majority of the percentage in Casai.com.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And it's positive to hear that you guys are moving and growing your reservation percentage, where if you think about what Melanie stated, it should be going in the other direction if you weren't actually being so successful in your own kind of campaigning. Ali, I wanted to ask on the beyond side, right? What are you guys seeing as far as direct bookings? Are you seeing a slow increase for the people that are leveraging your platform for their direct booking site, or are you just kind of maintaining or staying the same?
Of course, we are seeing an increase. With COVID, we saw like a market shock, and what we learned is that you need the tools to react to that. So we have seen an increase in direct bookings. And as I said, when there's a market shock, you need the tools to react to that, because you'll have a lot of issues to fix with guests, with owners, with employees. And so, like having a tool like Signal will help you get time back into the day and just, focus on getting direct bookings, but focusing on your operations as well. So yeah, I mean, to me, like, it's a great time, to be in this space because we have access to these tools and you should use them. So yeah, we have seen an increase in that, to answer your question.
Okay. There was a question from the audience that came in of, essentially, the OTAs are this nice, warm, comforting place for you to get reservations. They provide reviews, they provide certain protections against guests, they provide, some of them provide some sort of damage liability coverage and everything. Ali, what are you seeing your users doing to overcome kind of some of those ancillary fringe benefits that they're getting from the OTAs?
So one thing we're saying is that you don't have the same risk on the OTAs than you do on the website, because people look for you, they want to book. And so the guests you're getting usually will have less risk than the ones that you get through the OTAs. And on top of that, you save on the fees. So you make more money through your website, and you can have your own insurance as well. So it's something we've been saying.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I never thought about it that way. That the type of person that's going directly to a website doesn't have negative intentions when they're going there, right? Like, I think that if you do carry those negative intentions, you're probably going to the OTAs, and that's why you need all those protections. Also, just to throw in, on Guesty's marketplace, we have a number of different partners that cover, that do background checks and cover some of that screening process for you. And so there are these ancillary tools that you can start building into your tech stack if you are using, for instance, a Guesty as your PMS to help protect you on those direct bookings as well. All right. Yeah. I was just going to go back to you, Anna, regarding kind of the guest quality that you're seeing booked through your direct booking site. Can you reaffirm us on Ali's kind of thought that these are better quality guests that you're getting to Casai's brand specifically, or are you not noticing any difference there?
Yes, we are noticing that the quality that we receive in Casai.com, we are working on having these kind of potential guests and take them to the funnel until they have a reservation. And of course, they are most likely to return and to book again with us than the ones that come from OTA. So we have been seeing that. And we know that even though we are maybe having a little bit more of an investment on marketing, on bringing them to Casai.com, this is the best way to spend, because they are going to be staying and returning and of course using again our platform. So I think that's the way, and I completely confirms what Melanie says.
Yep, and that's great. Returning guests are the most cost-effective guests to get back to your brand, to that experience. You already know that they're of high quality, that you haven't had any issues with them, and so I think that's the magic bullet that everyone's looking for, is as many returning guests as possible going directly to your direct booking site. And what we've seen on the Guesty side is the PMCs that are able to drive the most recurring guests are the ones that are leveraging those low cost high return kind of marketing engines, such as like newsletters or email campaigns, because you already have all of that guest information. Why not leverage it for retargeting? Because you are going to have higher conversion rates in that instance. All right, Melanie, this one's for you. We had a question about, there's all these acronyms and there's all this data, and to be honest, data is king, right? Like if you can take as much information in as possible and distill it and kind of work with it, you can pull really meaningful insights. But it can also be very overwhelming to have all these various different data points. So if you were sitting down with a first time, PMC, what are the few key kind of KPI indicators, data indicators that they should really focus in on if they want to be successful in kind of filling up their calendar?
Yes. Okay. So I think the first one, nobody will be surprised by, it's RevPAR, or revenue per available rental. So that's a measure of all of your nights. What was the average revenue you made per night? Mm-hmm. So you can calculate it a couple different ways. Kind of the most common is you just multiply your occupancy rate by your average nightly rate. So obviously if you just chase occupancy and you want to be booked all the time, well, you can do that if your prices are too low. If your rates are too high, then you might not get booked at all. And so RevPAR can help find that sweet spot where you're booking frequently, but your rate's dialed in and you're maximizing your revenue instead of just occupancy or your rate. So that's the first one. It's a good measure of what's happening on your bottom line. The second one has to do with booking windows, which I spoke to. So again, that's your time between a guest making a reservation, and arriving. It's essential for planning, for understanding your performance, how you're doing for the coming months compared to where you think you should be, for knowing when to raise and lower your rates ahead of some stay dates. So obviously you don't want to drop rates too early. And if you don't understand when guests are looking and booking, then you're not going to be able to manage your rate adjustments well. So RevPAR and booking window, obviously seeing a lot of comments about, okay, well, that data applies in my market, but not in mine. All of this is so regionally based, like down to your single city, in some cases your neighborhood or like your beach resort. And so would definitely encourage everybody to understand that data for both your own company, which Key Data Dashboard can help with, and then also for your local market, which we can help with as well, just because we can talk about averages to get an overall sense, but everything really does vary by your own local market.
Yeah. All right. So staying on that kind of local market conversation, Anna, I know that Casai recently went from just being kind of Mexico-centric to moving to a Brazilian market, right? And a lot of our PMCs out there had seen that huge amount of growth in 2021, depending on their inventory class, but we did see a lot of PMCs expand. So I assume that a lot of people are looking at opportunities in either other markets or other countries. What did Casai learn in terms of marketing strategy when it moved into the Brazilian market?
Yeah, as I was talking in my presentation, one of our main objectives is creating a consistent and regional brand, right? We were talking about a brand that it's going to be expanding, but it's going to be offering the same value proposition. When we arrived to Brazil, what we noticed is that even we are a regional brand, we need to have this local touch. Like they have to be relevant locally. And of course you can say, okay, Brazil and Mexico both are the same in Latin America, but they're completely different. Like we have to talk about different messaging. We have to talk about different motivations. So I think that's our main learning and our takeaway for now, to have these regional / local kind of initiatives that could be relevant for the market, but of course, maintaining this umbrella and this consistency throughout Latin America.
Did you make any mistakes with your marketing efforts in Brazil?
Yeah, we started talking a lot of English, and in Brazil, they don't talk English. Yeah. So that was very, very important for us. The language barrier, it's very difficult, and we need to talk the specific language they have. So we started doing these executions and this kind of differentiation in specifically on the language barrier. I think that was the main mistake we started making.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, where if your messaging could be great, but if no one can actually understand it, then what is it really doing?
Yeah, I know that Jago Ramos in the chat says like, yes, we do speak English in Brazil. I know there are some of them that speak in Brazil, but a huge percentage they don't. And if we want to be really have the affinity with them, we need to talk Portuguese.
That's right. And if you want to be a local partner,
we want to be a local partner.
Exactly.
If we are offering locality, how come we're not going to be talking on Portuguese, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, Ali, I want to talk to you about seasonality. We'll ask Melanie about what they're seeing as far as seasonality and some data there. But what we've seen in Guesty is that because of the pandemic, we flattened out some of the seasonality curves. And so from Beyond's perspective, did COVID kill seasonality, or is it still very much alive? Are you still seeing kind of huge spikes?
No, I wouldn't say it's dead. Ski season is still ski season. Summer is summer. Demand has adjusted, yes. But that's why you should have an effective pricing strategy. You don't want to leave money on the table during the high season, and you don't want to sit on empty listings during the low season. So if the season are adjusting a bit, which is what we saw, a data-driven dynamic pricing strategy will help you make the most of your listings. So yeah, it has adjusted a bit, but of course it's not dead.
Okay. All right. So seasonality is still very much with us. So plan accordingly, folks. Let's get into ski season, Melanie. What are some of the best practices that our PMCs can do to capitalize as much revenue as possible on the ski season?
Ski season has been tricky the last few years, right? Like when COVID hit, they were in the second half of ski season, and then just it's a very crowded sort of vacation in a lot of cases. So I think we can just acknowledge it's been a really tricky situation for ski destinations to handle. Mm-hmm. I live in Colorado in the US, and so obviously ski season is upon us. I'm trying to book trips and it's really challenging. So just to bring that personal narrative in, is like people are like occupancy rates are high and rates are even higher. So I did dive into that data just ahead of this. Most markets, again, we're concentrated in North America for our ski data right now. It really does depend on the destination. We're seeing occupancy rates higher everywhere. So from about 2% to 25% higher than in 2019. So low end of that was Lake Tahoe, California. High end was Whistler. Average daily rates 20 to 30% higher. Lots of factors going into this for ski season though. So like I mentioned, obviously COVID has had a huge impacts on the ski destinations. Yeah. Also snowpack and snowfall has been very variable. Travel regulations. And then especially in the US, a lot of local regulatory fights between local municipalities and vacation rental companies. So ski has kind of been at the middle of it all. So the season looks good, but again, we'll just encourage people to kind of stay on top of those higher occupancy and higher rates in their own destinations.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody out there who's listening has still some vacancy in their ski cabin, hold on to that ADR and that pricing, because it will come. It's basically, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And ski booking windows have always been shorter. People will plan last minute weekend trips based on what the weather looks like before you're outside all day. And so yes, just like that pattern is being enhanced as well of keep your prices high if your rental is still open.
Okay. Well, perfect. Thank you all very much for participating in today's webinar. Before we let you go, I just wanted to say that we are going to have Guestival for the first time ever in the United States. And so we're targeting September 13th and 14th for the Guestival event. So if you're at all interested, come join us. I know that we're going to have a lot of vendors there, a lot of PMCs kind of participating in panels such as this, a lot of thought-provoking type of conversations, not to mention a lot of drinks and a lot of fun. So please join us for Guestival this year in Austin, Texas, over September 13th and 14th. And so again, thank you to our panel. We'll share this webinar via social media outlets such as LinkedIn and Facebook. And we'll also be emailing all of the attendees today with the contact information of our panelists. Well done, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for joining.